When someone hurts you, the first instinct is to fight back, explain yourself, or demand answers. But here's the truth. If you react the way he expects, you give him power, and the one thing you must never hand over is your power. So what do? You confuse him. You don't give him the satisfaction of seeing you fall apart. Instead, you rise. The first step is shifting the power of reaction. When he expects tears, give him calm. When he expects anger, give him composure. This is where real strength begins, not in what you say, but in the control you hold over yourself. Next, silence. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Imagine his mind racing when you don't reply right away, when you don't chase, when you don't explain. He can't control silence. He can't predict silence. And in that gap, you take the upper hand. Now radiate confidence. Walk like you have nothing to prove. Talk like you've already won. Smile when he expects sadness. Show certainty when he's trying to shake you. That confidence isn't just for him. It's for you. It reminds you that no matter who walks in or out of your life, your worth never moves. Then redirect your focus. Instead of obsessing over why he hurt you, pour that energy into your dreams, your body, your mission, your future. Nothing is more confusing to someone who tried to break you than watching you use the pain as fuel. And finally, control the narrative. Don't play his game, set your own rules. As the moment you stop letting his words dictate your emotions, you take back everything he thought he stole. So the next time he hurts you, don't argue, don't break. Confuse him by being stronger, calmer, and more focused than he ever imagined. Because the greatest revenge is not proving him wrong. It's showing him he never had the power to define you in the first place. When someone hurts you, your natural instinct is to fight back, to prove a point, to demand an answer. You want to call them out as you want to show them how much damage they caused, and you want to make them feel the pain they gave you. But here's the thing. You can never win by stepping into the battlefield they created for you. If you play the game on their terms, you've already lost. What confuses and disarms someone who hurt you isn't your anger. It isn't your tears. It isn't your begging. What confuses them is your strength. What confuses them is your ability to rise above what they expected from you. When you change your response, you take back the power. The first step is mastering the power of your reaction. Think about it. If he expects you to break down and cry, and instead you stand tall with calmness, his entire strategy falls apart. If he expects rage and you respond with composure, he's thrown off balance. It's not about denying your feelings, because yes, you are hurt. Yes, you are human, but it's about refusing to give him the satisfaction of watching you lose yourself. Strength is not found in denying pain. It's found in choosing how to respond to pain. And one of the most powerful tools you have in your arsenal is silence. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a strategy. Most people underestimate it because they believe words are the only way to fight back. But silence does something no explanation or argument ever could. It leaves the other person questioning themselves. Imagine the confusion that stirs when you don't answer his text, when you don't jump to explain yourself, when you don't show up begging for his validation. He cannot control silence because silence forces him to face his own actions without distraction. And in that quiet space, he loses the upper hand. Now let's talk about confidence, because nothing confuses someone who hurt you more than confidence. When he expects you to crumble, you stand taller. When he thinks you'll be bitter, you smile with ease. When he assumes you'll lose yourself, you shine brighter than ever. That's not a performance, that's a decision. A decision to remind yourself every single day that your value does not decrease when someone fails to see it. Confidence is magnetic, and when you radiate it, as you remind him, and more importantly yourself, that his actions don't define your worth. The next step is redirecting your focus. This is where you turn the energy he tried to take from you into fuel for your growth. Instead of sitting in the pain, instead of replaying every word, every look, every moment that cut you down, you use that fire to build something for yourself. You go harder at the gym. You chase the dreams you put on hold. You learn new skills. You expand your world. Nothing is more confusing to someone who wanted to break you than watching you thrive, because now the pain they caused has become your power. You are no longer stuck in the narrative they wrote for you. You're writing your own. And here's the real shift. Controlling the narrative. The game ends the moment you decide not to play it. If he hurts you and you spend all your energy chasing an explanation, chasing closure, chasing validation, you're still letting him set the terms. But the moment you stop responding the way he expects, the moment you no longer rise and fall by his behavior, the moment you dictate the rhythm of your own emotions, you have confused him completely, because he no longer knows how to control you. He no longer knows how to predict you. He no longer knows what move to make, because you're not on the board anymore. You're leading the game. When someone hurts you, it can feel like the ground beneath your feet has been pulled away. Your heart wants to scream, your mind wants to react, and every instinct inside you wants to fight back or demand answers. But here's the truth. The moment you let your reaction match his expectation, you've handed him power. And power is the one thing you cannot afford to give away. You want to confuse him. You want to take control. Then you have to do the one thing he never saw coming. You rise in a way that breaks his pattern. You respond in a way that makes him question everything he thought he knew about you. The first step is to understand that control comes from composure. Most people believe that yelling, explaining, or proving themselves will bring closure, but what it really brings is more fuel to the fire. When he expects chaos and instead finds calm, he doesn't know what to do with it. Calm is powerful. Calm is disruptive. Calm is what throws the entire game off balance. You don't deny your feelings, you own them, but you own them privately, because not every storm inside you needs to be shown to the world. The greatest storms are the ones that strengthen you without ever being visible to him. Now think about silence. Silence is not absence. It is presence amplified. It speaks louder than words ever could because it leaves space for his mind to wander. When you don't chase, when you don't explain, when you don't rush to defend yourself, you are creating a mirror for him to face. As silence unsettles him because it removes the script. He cannot predict you when you are quiet. He cannot manipulate you when you are not responding. He cannot control a conversation that no longer exists. That is how silence turns into confusion, and confusion turns into power. Then comes the energy you radiate. Confidence is the antidote to hurt. When he thinks his actions will break you, your confidence tells him you're unshaken. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you choose not to let the pain define you. Confidence is walking into a room with your head high when he assumed you would collapse. Confidence is laughing, living, loving your life when he assumed you'd be stuck in bitterness. That energy shifts everything because when you radiate strength, you remind him and yourself that no one else decides your worth. But here's the key. It's not just about what you withhold. It's about where you redirect. Pain is energy, and if you sit in it, it will drown you. But if you channel it, it can fuel you. That's why you redirect your focus to your goals, your passions, your growth. You use every ounce of that hurt to push harder in the gym, to build your future, to sharpen your skills, to expand your world. Suddenly, the pain that was meant to break you has become the very reason you've elevated. And nothing confuses him more than seeing you become stronger because of what he did, not weaker. Finally, as you rewrite the rules, he expects you to play the game, arguing, chasing, proving, explaining. But you don't play anymore. You lead, you control the rhythm. You decide where your energy goes, where your attention flows, what story you're living. And the moment you stop letting him set the tone, the moment you no longer revolve around his behavior, that's the moment he loses his grip. He can't figure you out anymore because you're not predictable. You're not reactive. You're not playing in his world. You've created your own. When he hurts you, the first thing you want to do is react. You want to scream. You want to demand answers. You want to force him to see the pain he caused. But listen closely. Every time you react the way he expects, you feed the fire he lit. That's what he counts on. He expects you to break down. He expects you to lose control. He expects you to hand over your power. And if you do, you confirm exactly what he wanted. The real strategy, the real victory, comes when you refuse to give him the response he's waiting for. You confuse him when you rise in strength instead of collapse and weakness. You confuse him when you show composure instead of chaos. You confuse him when you become untouchable in the very moment he tried to wound you. Power begins with self-control. He thinks your emotions are his to trigger, his to manipulate, his to push like buttons on a machine. But when you stop reacting, when you stop giving him that instant gratification, the control shifts. He throws words like weapons, but they hit a wall when you don't flinch. He tries to provoke you, but your calm becomes his frustration. He tries to measure his importance by your reaction, but when you don't react, he starts questioning his own power. That's how you flip the game, not by fighting harder, but by refusing to play the way he expects. And let's talk about silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is one of the most confusing forces you can use. When you don't chase, when you don't explain, when you don't rush to fix what he broke, the silence unsettles him. He starts to wonder what you're thinking. He starts to wonder why you haven't reacted. He starts to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he underestimated you, because silence doesn't give him the answers he's looking for. Silence forces him to face himself, and most people can't handle that reflection. Then there's the energy you project. Confidence is the weapon that dismantles every illusion he tried to create. When he thought you would sink, you rise higher. When he thought you would close off, you shine brighter. When he thought his actions defined your worth, you remind the world and yourself that no one else holds that power. Confidence is confusing because it rewrites the story. It says, you thought you broke me, but I turned that pain into fuel. It says, you thought I needed you, but I've built a life where I thrive without you. That kind of energy is unstoppable, and it's exactly what he can't understand. Redirecting your focus is where the transformation takes root. Pain is heavy, but it is also energy, and energy can be converted. As instead of wasting it on replaying conversations, instead of burning it on questions that will never be answered, you invest it in yourself. You take that pain to the gym, to your career, to your passion, to your vision for the future. You don't wait for him to validate you. You validate yourself through growth, through progress, through unstoppable momentum. And when he looks back and sees the person he tried to hurt is now thriving more than ever, he won't understand how it happened. That confusion is the result of you shifting from victim to creator. Finally, you control the story. He thought he was writing it. He thought he was setting the stage. He thought you would follow the script he designed. But you tore up that script. You don't respond on his timeline anymore. You don't rise and fall based on his words. You dictate the rhythm. You choose the narrative. You decide how this plays out. And that, more than anything, is what confuses him. Because the game he thought he controlled doesn't even exist anymore. You are not a player in his story. You are the author of your own. When he hurts you, there's a moment where the air feels heavy, where your chest tightens, where everything inside you is screaming for release. You want to shout, to cry, to demand to know why. You want him to see the damage he caused and feel even a fraction of it himself. But in those moments, there is a choice. You can give him exactly what he expects, or you can rise into a level of strength that he doesn't know how to face. Confusion doesn't come from chaos. It doesn't come from anger. It comes from your ability to stay grounded when he thought he could shake your entire world. When you refuse to react the way he anticipated, you take back control. He thought he could predict your every move. He believed that his actions would dictate your emotions, that his words would guide your responses. But the moment you stop giving him that predictable reaction, you've already shifted the power. There is nothing more confusing to someone who wants control than realizing they don't have it anymore. And the way you take it back isn't by shouting louder, it's by standing taller. Silence is often the most powerful response. It feels counterintuitive because everything inside you wants to be heard, to explain, to defend. But silence doesn't mean surrender. Silence means you've decided your energy is too valuable to waste on a battle that can't be won. Silence creates space, and in that space, he doesn't know what to do. He expected confrontation, but instead he gets distance. He expected you to run after him, but instead you pull away. That silence leaves him with himself, and very often that's the one thing he doesn't know how to handle. Confidence is another form of silence. It's a language of its own. When he expected you to collapse, as your confidence speaks volumes without you saying a single word. It's in the way you hold yourself, the way you move, the way you show up in the world. Confidence says, I am more than what you did to me. It says, as your actions don't define who I am. And when he sees you radiating that certainty, it unsettles him because it breaks the narrative he tried to create. He thought you would see yourself through his eyes, but you refuse. You see yourself through your own. Redirecting your focus is where you transform the hurt into something greater. Pain is a teacher, but only if you choose to let it teach you. If you let it weigh you down, it consumes you. If you channel it, it builds you. So instead of asking why he did what he did, you start asking what you can do with the energy it left behind. You invest it into your growth, into your goals, into your future. You begin building something so powerful, so meaningful that the pain no longer has the final word. And the more you grow, the more he wonders how you did it. Because he thought breaking you was the end, but it was only the beginning. The most confusing thing you can ever do to someone who hurt you is take back the story. He thought he was writing it. He thought he was controlling the plot, but you've decided to become the author. And when you write your own story, he doesn't know what to expect. He doesn't know how to follow. He doesn't know where he fits anymore. And that is the true shift, when his actions no longer determine your direction, when his choices no longer shape your future, when your life is no longer a reaction to his behavior, but a creation of your own design. When he hurts you, your instincts scream for action. You want to fight. You want to demand answers. You want him to see the damage he caused. That fire inside you wants to be unleashed. But here's the truth. If you explode the way he expects, you hand him exactly what he wanted. He thrives on your reaction. He counts on your energy. He expects you to give him the proof that his actions have control over your state of mind. And that's where you flip the script. You don't react the way he's bracing for. You confuse him by rising above the chaos he created, by showing him that he doesn't own even a fraction of your power. The most powerful way to confuse someone who hurt you is to refuse to collapse. He thought he had the power to shake your foundation. But your strength sends a message louder than any words. You don't need to shout. You don't need to explain. You stand tall, you look unshaken, and that unsettles him more than anything. He wanted control, but your composure tells him he never had it. He wanted to see you drown, but instead you're floating higher than ever. And in that moment, he starts to wonder if maybe he miscalculated, if maybe he underestimated who he was dealing with. Think about it. People who hurt others are fueled by reaction. If you cry, if you scream, if you chase, they know they've hit their target. But if you hold your ground, if you stay silent, if you show him nothing, his confidence begins to crack. Silence is not weakness, it's a weapon. It forces him to sit in the echo of his own actions. It makes him face himself without distraction. And that silence leaves him with questions he doesn't know how to answer. He wonders why you didn't respond. He wonders why you didn't run after him. He wonders what you're planning, what you're thinking, what you're becoming. That is how you confuse him, by giving him nothing to grab onto. And then comes confidence. Confidence is like a shield he can't penetrate. When he expected you to be broken, you're standing taller. When he assumed you'd lose yourself, you show up stronger. Confidence doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you refuse to let the pain define you. It means you choose to walk with power even when your heart aches. When he sees that, it unsettles him because it tells him his attempt failed. You are no longer reacting to him. You're radiating from within. But the transformation isn't just in how you respond. It's in how you redirect. Pain is energy, and energy is fuel. Instead of wasting it on questions that will never be answered, you invest it into yourself. You take that hurt and turn it into power. You hit the gym harder. You dive into your goals with more intensity. You build a life so fulfilling, so strong, that it becomes clear to everyone that what was meant to break you only built you. That shift is confusing because he thought his actions would leave you stuck, but instead they propelled you forward. And the real shift comes when you take back the story. He thought he controlled the narrative. He thought you would dance to his rhythm, respond to his script, move in his direction. But when you stop playing his game, the game falls apart. You create your own rhythm. You write your own script. You live on your own terms. And that is the greatest confusion of all, when the person who thought they had control realizes they don't even exist in the story you're writing anymore. They thought they were the author, but you've taken the pen, and now the entire narrative belongs to you.